If you're going to Italy soon, but you don't speak Italian yet, these 11 words will help you navigate everyday situations, from greetings to ordering in restaurants and finding il bagno, the toilet. Not knowing the basics can feel a bit awkward sometimes, so this video will help you enjoy Italy and also connect with the locals. You'll also learn some words that most tourists miss and how to avoid common mistakes. So with Matteo's help, we'll show you when to say these 11 words and how to pronounce them. Salve means hello.
Salve. Salve.
In Italian, there are a few different ways to say hello, depending on the time of day. So you can say buongiorno in the day and buonasera in the evening. But the word salve can be used at any time of day, so it's quick and easy to learn.
Salve.
Salve.
Salve. Ciao.
And here's a cultural tip that you need to know. In Italy, it's really important to greet people when you walk into shops and restaurants. So you can look over to someone at the till or staff working elsewhere and say salve with a smile. You might also know ciao. This works, but it's informal. So if you're talking to people in the service industry that you don't know, it's best to stick to salve, or as you know, you can also use buongiorno in the day and buonasera in the evening. Vorrei means I would like.
Vorrei. Vorrei.
You can use vorrei anytime you want to tell someone what you'd like, for example, in shops or when ordering in bars and restaurants.
Vorrei un caffè, grazie.
Io vorrei un cappuccino, per favore.
Cacao cannella?
Cacao, grazie.
Italians often don't say long phrases to order things like, could I please have? So it's also enough just to say your order, but remember to follow it up with a polite word.
Una margherita, per favore.
Una Coca Zero, grazie.
Con ghiaccio.
Grazie means thank you.
Grazie. Grazie.
This one's fairly self-explanatory, but just be careful about the pronunciation. So when Italians say it really quickly, it sounds like grazie, but that's actually a mistake that lots of tourists make. The last part of the word sounds more like yeah, yeah. And then the first part is graz. So you get grazie, grazie, grazie.
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 Prego.
Grazie.
And you might also notice that sometimes Italians use grazie instead of per favore after a request.
Vorrei un caffè, grazie.
And this leads us naturally to our next word, per favore, which means please.
Per favore. Per favore. Il conto, per favore.
And if you know some Spanish, you'll need to be really careful with the pronunciation here. So it's not por, but it's per. Per. Per favore. Per favore.
Una margherita, per favore.
Arrivederci means goodbye.
Arrivederci. Arrivederci. Arrivederci.
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci.
When you leave, you can also say ciao. It means both hi and bye, but it is informal. And Italian culture is becoming more informal. So you might hear people in the service industry use ciao with you. In that case, you can say it back. And keep in mind that Italians are also very understanding with people who are learning their language. So they probably won't be offended if you say ciao, even if they'd prefer the formal. But if you want to make sure that you're not being too informal by accident in shops and restaurants, you can stick to arrivederci when you leave. Altrettanto means you too or same to you.
Altrettanto. Altrettanto. Grazie, altrettanto. Grazie, altrettanto. Grazie. Grazie a voi, buona giornata. Altrettanto.
Italians have many ways to wish each other well when they leave. So you might hear buona giornata, have a nice day, or buona serata, have a nice evening, or buon weekend, have a nice weekend, or even buona domenica, have a nice Sunday. And it can be a bit hard to know how to navigate all of these because there are so many, so it's helpful to have just one quick way to reply to them all. Altrettanto, you too. When you're learning Italian, I think the most important thing is to be able to communicate with Italians. So you don't need to know everything perfectly before you give it a go. That's why in our online Italian school, we focus on helping you learn really useful words and phrases, just like altrettanto, so that you can start speaking as soon as possible. To learn more, click the link in the description. Dov'è means where is.
Dov'è? Dov'è?
Scusi, dov'è il bagno?
Here it's really important to pay attention to the pronunciation. So the little line above the letter E means that that's the most important part of the word that we want to emphasize with our voice. So it's not dove, but it's dov'è. Dov'è. For example, dov'è il bagno? Dov'è il mercato? Dov'è la stazione? Scusi means excuse me.
Scusi. Scusi.
Scusi is often used just like in English as a polite way to catch someone's attention. In Italian, it also means sorry, so you can say it if you bump into someone or stand on their foot by accident.
Mamma mia.
Oh, scusi.
Nessun problema.
Oh, scusi.
Nessun problema.
Permesso literally means permission. In Italian, you can't use scusi or excuse me if you want to move past someone like you would in English. Italians actually have a special word for this, which is permesso. I remember learning this the hard way because I would try and get through groups of people, maybe getting off the metro or walking through crowds of people, and no one would move. But then as soon as I learned the word permesso, it was like the crowds parted, it's like Moses said permesso, and then I could finally get through.
Permesso. Permesso.
Permesso is a bit like saying, may I pass?
Scusi.
Sì.
Scusi. Permesso.
Prego.
Grazie.
Prego means you're welcome.
Prego. Prego. Grazie.
Grazie.
Prego.
In Italian, the word prego has other meanings as well. So as well as meaning you're welcome, you can also use it as a polite way to encourage someone to do something. So for example, maybe you're offering them something and you want them to take it. Or if you want to let someone go ahead of you, for example, through a door, or if you're standing in line. It's kind of like a polite way of saying, please, go ahead.
Prego.
Grazie.
Posso means can I or may I?
Posso.
This word is really useful to know in Italy, so even if you don't know other words and you can't build full sentences with it, you can point to things and just ask, may I? Posso?
Posso?
Prego.
Grazie. Posso?
Deve pagare?
Sì, grazie. Then once you start learning more Italian, you can use this to build sentences. So you could say, posso pagare? Posso pagare? Can I pay? Or posso pagare con la carta? Posso pagare con la carta? Can I pay by card? I really hope you'll find these words useful on your next trip to Italy. And don't worry, you don't have to remember all of them just from watching this video once. I'd actually suggest watching it again and maybe again, and then writing them down. So you could actually keep a piece of paper in your pocket with these phrases on that you can use when you're in Italy. And I think that's actually the best way to remember them, by starting to use them. And Italians are usually really happy to hear you using a few phrases. So maybe just before the time comes, you can take your list out, review how to say the word, and then give it a go. So now I'd like to hear from you. When are you most looking forward to using these phrases? For example, you might be looking forward to going to a pizzeria in Naples and saying una margherita, per favore. Leave us a comment. Ciao!
Sì, però ti dobbiamo pagare questo in realtà.
Dobbiamo pagare, sì, sì.